Hey gang, it's Jeff from Photo Finish Restorations, and on this episode of Muscle Cars and Hot Rods, we're going to get on with part 2 of color sanding, buffing, and polishing out Cindy's 1968 Chevrolet Camaro. So check it out. Okay, we got through on part 1 going through 1000 grit, and then yesterday I went through and got my 1000 finished out and got my 1200 done. And it is at that point I went to grab 1500, which was still on back order from our supplier, and I thought, well, I'd just grab some 2000 and give that a double good go. In order to check that to make sure it was okay, I took this little spot here and I buffed it out with a little bit of compound. So, you know, obviously you're still going to be seeing the swirls and whatnot, but we're looking at the texture of the clear and what we're getting with our sanding. Essential to buffing, these really help me out. Little cheap halogen lights. And as we look at the reflection, I mean, don't look at the base coat of the color, we're looking at the reflection in the clear because we're going after the desired effect. We're seeing that there's still a little bit of haziness and there's still a little bit of scratches that didn't quite come out with the 2000. So we're gonna go ahead and get the 1500 going, just like we planned on. Okay, well, I guess cutting and buffing is a topic that people really want to know about. Got a lot of questions and comments and stuff on the first part 1 of this, and let's see, let's take you around and show you where we're at. So of course you know that we already went through with our 1000, that was on the first video. We followed it up with 1200, 1500, and 2000. Let me show you some of the blocks and things we use for sanding when we're doing it. Now you already saw the acrylic stick that we use for doing our 1000 grit. I'll also use the round Durablock to get into contours like the top of this fender right in here. Then when we switch over to the 1200, we'll take the somewhat hard Durablock, it's fairly hard, and then we'll take this softer block, wrap it like this, and then we'll take our paper and wrap it around this, and that's what we'll use to cut each grip down. And then as I get to the 2000, I'll just take the soft one and I'll do it with the soft one. People want to know about canceling out scratches and all that, and back when I was taught to color sand and buff, I was told that you would take, let's say we're going from 12 to 1500, I was told you'd take the 1200 and go in one direction, and then take the 1500 and go in the opposite direction, and then you'd take a light, like a little handheld fluorescent, and look and make sure that you were getting all of your 1200 grit scratches out with your 1500. And that's okay, but for me, what I noticed what was happening is if I sand in one direction too much, I get what's called tracking. And that's either from the corners or edges of the block or the sandpaper or whatever, and it'll track into the clear coat, and you won't be able to sand that out with the next progressive grit. So what I do is I continue on with the same age-old technique of cross-hatching, and it takes a little bit to be aware of when you're trying to get rid of each progressive scratch, but I mean, if you're diligent and you just do your job, it won't be an issue. So yeah, like I was saying, I'll continue to cross-hatch, and then at a 90, I'll go the other way, just like if I were blocking the car or anything like that. And that works a lot better for me because you're not going to pick up those little cross-hatchings that you would, like I was saying, that you'll get from either the corner of the paper or the corner of the block or the pattern of the sanding or whatever. I don't sand all in one direction. One thing I will do is I'll do a test panel and pay real close attention. Like, let's say I'm going to sand, where is it here? This area right here. So if I'm going to sand that area right there and get it ready, what I'll do is I'll count. Let's say I'll come through, sand this way, and I'll get 4 passes on. I'll squeegee it off, look real good, and let's say it takes 4 or 5 passes to get your sanding scratches out. I'll remember that it takes 4 or 5 passes, and I'll continue to do that. Does that mean that I'm ignoring the rest of the details of the car? No, I'm still looking at them, but I'm not gonna spend 100 hours, you know, detailing out every square inch of the car. I get, and it's the same thing when I buff. I start with my compound, and I'll make sure that I'm getting the job that I want done, and I'll pay attention to, okay, it took 4 passes to get this done, and I'll do 4 passes on the car, and I'll just keep a look at my car, or look at the progress I'm making. Let's see. We'll stop it right there and pick up a little bit. You'll hear me talk about squeegeeing the panel off. This is the squeegee I use. I mean, take a look at how that, they don't even make them in white anymore. That tells you how old this thing is. But what I like about this, as opposed to the new ones, is there's no sharp edges on it. You can see this has just been worn down through use over the years. And here's our paper again. Like I said, you saw me working with the 1000. There's the 1200. 1500, 2000. I haven't done my 2500 yet, but let's take a little philosophy down on the best way I could think of real quick, like to show you what's happening in my philosophy on color sanding and what you're doing to the clear coat surface, is to take a look at a cross section of what that looks like. And right here on the board I've drawn up something. Let's say that this right here is your orange peel that you just shot right out of the gun. And then this down below it, let's say that's your 1000 grit. Those are the scratches that are created, you know, this is a cross section of your clear from your 1000, your 1200, your 1500, your 2000, let's say that's your 2500. And what you're noticing as you go down is the sanding scratches get less deep, obviously less deep. The best philosophy I can come up with to show you why we go through all the grits and I mean, I don't have a problem with if you just do 1000, 1500, 2000, if that's working for you, that's fine. But the reason I've been liking the 2500 and adding that to the arsenal is because I've gotten an even less deep of a scratch. And that to me has a better shine because you're ultimately looking for that mirror type flatness, you know, that super flat. And the 25 gets it that much flatter because it's taking out those deeper scratches of the 2000. But also think about it like this, you know, these are the products we're using now, the rubbing compounds, the glazes and the polishes and all that. You're trapping less of that stuff in the surface, so you're getting less of a haze when you're doing that. You're not filling as much as you would. So, you know, if you're out there doing 1500 and that's working for you, great, but go ahead and do a spot with your 1500 and then right next to it do a spot with your 25, you know, work it all the way up to 2500 and take a look at the shine, see what it looks like. If it's something that's going to work out for you, cool. Over here I did a little test panel to kind of see, this is just in compound, to kind of see what, you're picking up some shadows from the light. I use these lights to make sure that I'm getting my deep scratches out. But you're picking up a little bit of a, I do a little bit of a test panel to see what I'm getting, to make sure that, you know, I'm getting the peel that I want, that I'm getting all my sanding scratches out, and I'm getting what I'm going after. This here run is just in a little bumper area. It doesn't really matter, but we don't want to leave it here and make it look ugly. I just take a razor blade and plane it out. See how here it's gone. Gotta take care of the drips now. And blading a run out will get it flatter than any other thing that I've tried. I've done the thing where you wipe metal glaze on it and block it out with some 600. I've masked them off real nicely with some fine line. I've got little aluminum blocks and I've used those, but you always see the slightest little hint of the run left. And with the blade, it just takes it right down flat. But you can see how we're almost there now. We got a little bit there. Okay, well, you get the point. I'm boring the hell out of you. You see a little bit more here to do. And touch more in here to do. A little bit of 2000, hit it with the buffer. All's right with the world. We just finished sanding up. I'm basically going through the 2500 grit per panel. So I 2500 the door, and now it's time to compound it. Our compound that we use, Mother's rubbing compound. When I'm compounding, I use a wool pad, and I like the Schlegel blend. I like a lot of different brands. That don't really matter to me. It's just as long as it works. But we've been using Schlegels around here for a long time. Got the mask on. Got the glasses. Used to use 3M Pt.2 rubbing compound. Great stuff. Worked good, but I couldn't breathe for days after using it. So the Mother seems to work pretty good, and it's a lot. Doesn't have as many VOCs in it to really mess you up. So like I said, we just got done doing 2500 sanding paper. That's actually a little too much. Right there. My buff. Used to buff at 1400, 1800, whatever. Nowadays I buff at about 900 to 1000. So I just put a little dab of compound on there. I spread it around an area about, yay big. They say what, a little less than 2 feet. And I just keep buffing it until it polishes out. This right here is a buffing spur. It's used for cleaning up the wool pad. When it gets so that the wool pad isn't really taking the final bits of compound off, I clean the pad up. Inspect it. Looking for any deep sanding scratches that might not have come out. Making sure you got your 2500 out. I always grab a damp rag and wipe it off. Nowadays I go in circles like this. I used to just go straight back. When you polish a car out to this level, every time you touch the clear coat, you're effectively scratching it. So the philosophy behind wiping it back and forth was that it was creating an optical illusion that your eye wouldn't pick up on. I don't know. It's funny, you take certain instruction when you have less experience as the law, and then you just adapt whatever. There's a million ways to do this stuff. It's just a matter of doing what it takes to work for you. Anyway, that's compounding in a nutshell. Just a quickness on it. If I think other things, I guess I'll turn the camera back on, but till then we'll get ready for polishing.